这集菜单上面写了 Big Dumb Cock 大笨鸡，鸡儿鸟几乎是全球人用来形容的单词。Think proves that human beings are stupid in every language. 亲朋好友们、父老乡亲们 ，Hello 啊，白的、Chinese 的 ，Everybody. Welcome back to Magpie. We're going to be making one of my absolute favorites, 小鸡炖蘑菇 small cock stewed in mushroom, one of the most quintessential dishes in northern China, which is essentially our version of chicken cacciatore. If you don't like cock, you can use hen. Or just chicken if you're a normal person. The ingredients are very simple. We need a flavor base, lots of hot water, and the chicken. And then, of course, a symphony of brown sauces as per usual. Now, chicken cacciatore, or hunter's stew, or chicken chasseur in French, is essentially that. It's just chicken stewed in flavorful liquid with chunkies. The only difference here is most of the chunkies in 小鸡炖蘑菇 are 蘑菇, which is mushrooms, specifically 真蘑 from Jilin, which is the middle province of the northeastern three provinces. The one kind of attached to Korea, sharing that mountain range, Changbaishan. This is where those mushrooms come from. Where the Kimmies were born, where Grandpa Kimmy descended from the heavens. And Daddy Kimmy blessed us with his presence. That's the mountain that the Kims descend from, according to their legend. So the first thing you're gonna do is procure some of these and then hit it with some hot water. Now, when it comes to Chinese cookery, I always recommend that people have hot water boiling on standby and a big pot of oil, because the speed of Chinese cookery comes from ample lube, whether that lube comes in the form of water or fat. Especially northern cuisine, 不是泡的，就是发的，就是呼的，就是趴的，就是溜的. These are all northern specific verbs for the different temperatures we like to cook our food at. We've talked about this before, so feel free to rifle back on through our previous content. Once you have anointed your 真蘑 with hot water, I'm sure your next question is, can I use other mushrooms? Because I don't live near Changbaishan. Absolutely. Dried porcini, dried girol, or huangmo, dried shiitake if you're extra white. But really, any medley of dry mushrooms will do. I have my mushrooms on soak. All I need now is my small cock. Now, this is where a lot of the Western-minded amongst us might take leave of me. I am going to chop this chicken up, bones and all. I'm going to keep the bones on the chicken because that's the whole fun of this dish, is to 吸肉. If you don't like sucking on bones, feel free to go buy and do this with chicken thigh. Or if you're depressed, you can use chicken breast. Now, the next step that I'm gonna do is not necessary, but I grew up doing this step, and this is one of the few instances where I actually recommend it, is a quick marinade in a little bit of cooking wine to get rid of some of the chickeniness of the chicken. At which point, it goes into your boiling water. This is a universal step in most cookery across the world. Boil your proteins in water, wait for a lot of the water-soluble proteins to come to the surface, leach out of the meat, coagulate inside boiling water, and then that manifests as foam on the edges of your liquid, and that is what is discarded in favor of a nice clear soup. And take your big strainer, give her a little wipey wipe, and put it back on the heat. It's traditionally more of a term to signify that you want to use a young chicken instead of an older chicken, like a cock or a laying hen. This stew is cooked quite quickly, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and your stew is done, which is not enough time to break down old chicken. While my chicken has been prepped and on the side just hanging out, I'm gonna spend this time prepping my veg base, which is gonna be garlic, the whites of Chinese leek, and next is ginger. This is probably the hardest thing for you guys to get a hold of overseas. 红薯粉, noodles made from sweet potato starch. Pour some warm water over it. Leave it in there to soak for about 5 to 10 minutes, just until it's soft. This is the time where I assemble my seasoning cooking wine, Szechuan peppercorn oil. If you cannot find this, then we do it the more traditional way, which is Szechuan peppercorns, bay leaves, cinnamon sticks, cinnamon, not the red dessert stuff, cinnamon. Just go to an Asian store, they will have it. It's the big, juicy tree bark looking stuff, not the red, bitchy stuff. Now, we're gonna start heating our pan. We're gonna lube the wok. And then 加入一点底油, or as they would say, put in a little bit of base oil. You want to cook with quite a bit of oil here because you want your ingredients to move liberally within that oil. A lot of people like moving their pans around like this, but it's not necessary on an induction burner because this just means you're not inducing your pan. Stop showing off and just stir. Yeah, you'll have a much better even cook. All right, in goes your chicken. And you want that to hang out for a bit on the bottom of the wok. I don't know why, but a lot of people, like the Uncle Rogers and the wok aficionados of the world, like to pretend like there's some secret in making woks non-stick, and there isn't. I put a full ladle of fat and I'm cooking on rip-roaring high heat. Nothing's going to stick. All right, back the heat down, and in goes your bay leaves, a little bit of cinnamon, some Szechuan peppercorns. All right, once you see a little bit of color on the chicken, goes in your second addition of cooking wine, your soy sauce, dark soy sauce. A little bit for color, not for flavor. And then you just cover everything up with water. I recommend that we augment with a stock pot, and you can kick this into high heat while you pack up the rest of your prep. I want the collagen in the chicken to break down fast and furiously. Churn into gelatin and help emulsify the fats in the broth until it's a pretty cohesive, thick broth. Depending on what family you're from, you might add potato into this. If I tried to add potato into this, my dad would smack me on the back of the head and say, "This is already made of potato. What the fuck's wrong with you?" So in honor of my dad, wherever he may rest, no potato. I like to add a little bit of sesame oil to the mix, and we're just gonna let this roar away and bubble. Beauty. It's also a great time to double check these mushrooms to see if they're plugged with dirt, because these grow wild. So they might be covered in sand. Dry them off, throw them in. Now for a northern boy, this is an inappropriate stew if I can see the pan on the edge. It must be full. Make your dish look generous. If not good, then at least generous. Depending on how nice your mushroom soak water tastes, add some in. I always recommend you leave a bit at the bottom because there will be some sand in here. So don't pour it all in. And at this time, a little bit of white pepper to season. And if you want, you can add some 5-spice. I never find it to be necessary because we've already added a lot of what's in 5-spice. 5-spice is the thing that you add when you don't really know how to cook, but you want it to be flavorful. It's kind of like when white people add Montreal steak spice or barbecue rub to every meat. 5-spice is a northern Chinese person's steak rub. All right, now, at this point, you want to grab your sweet potato noodles and give them about 5 minutes, if that, to cook. But as with any noodle, check with your palate to see if they're done. You want it to be a little bit under the doneness you like to eat because it'll continue to soak up broth and cook from the stove to the table. My personal preference, I throw them in and I shut the stove off immediately because the chicken has already cooked and the residual heat is more than enough to cook your soaked noodles. And you have beautiful 小鸡炖蘑菇. Zero skill required, no real recipe. And because of the soy sauce, you don't need to brown everything, sear everything. It's not as annoying as traditional Western stews. This dish is fast. This is a lot of food very quickly for a lot of people. If you buy chicken wings or chicken drumsticks, you don't even need to do any butchery. All you need to know how to do is soak mushrooms and identify sand. So yeah, give it a shot. Thank you so much for watching. Talk often, talk soon, take care, and let me know what else you want to see. I understand that right now we're back on the front leg of making English content, so we're still a bit of a mess, but I appreciate your patience, and I look forward to hearing from you guys.